Hi everyone, welcome back. In this episode and the next episode of Healthy Togetherness, we're going to be talking about poaching. In this episode, we're going to be defining what poaching is, and we're going to be talking about its advantages and one or two disadvantages, and then we're going to make an avocado toast with poached eggs. Traditionally, eggs on toast or poached eggs on toast is a classic. But since avocado toast is now the trend, we're going to be making our own version of avocado toast with poached eggs. And then in the next episode, we're going to be talking about the different poaching liquids that can be used with poaching, and we're going to poach some salmon. Right? So let's get started. So what is poaching? Poaching is a moist heat cooking method in which foods are either fully submerged or partially submerged in a poaching liquid over gentle heat. The poaching liquid is between 160 and 180 degrees Fahrenheit, and there's virtually no motion in the poaching liquid. I'm going to read a quote to you. All right. Molly Stevens from Fine Cooking magazine defined it this way. Simply stated, the difference between boiling, simmering, and poaching is just a matter of degrees. At 112 degrees Fahrenheit, boiling is the hottest of the three methods. Next is simmering in the 185 to 205 degrees Fahrenheit range. And finally, there is poaching, the most gentle method from 160 degrees Fahrenheit to 180 degrees Fahrenheit. But you don't have to consult a thermometer to tell the difference. Your eyes are all you need. And this is from an article called Poaching versus Simmering versus Boiling. The more delicate the food, the more gentle the heat. So let's take a look at what she means by you don't need a thermometer to tell the difference between poaching, simmering, and boiling. This is poaching. You'll notice that the temperature of the poaching liquid is between 160 degrees and 180 degrees Fahrenheit. The water is, or the poaching liquid is very gentle. There's no agitation at all. It's very calm. And there are bubbles at the bottom of the pan, but they're not breaking the surface. They're not coming up to the surface. Right? That's what distinguishes poaching, is this low temperature plus a very calm poaching liquid. Okay, this is simmering. The temperature of the water is between 185 degrees and 105 degrees Fahrenheit. You'll notice that in the background, the water is bubbling and breaking the surface. So there's some agitation going there, not as hard as boiling, but the water is a little bit agitated. Okay. Okay, and this is boiling. We have a rapid boil here. Temperature is around 112 degrees Fahrenheit. And you'll notice that there's a lot of bubbles coming from the bottom of the pan, quickly breaking the surface. And then that water is really on a rolling boil. It's just very much agitated. If a egg is put into that right away, the egg whites would just shred into little strands of white. All right. So what are the benefits of poaching? The first one that comes to mind from a cooking healthy point of view is that it does not use any oil. Poaching is a cooking technique in which the foods are cooked in a water-based liquid. Doesn't have to be water. It can be a combination of water and wine, and we'll talk about that a lot more on the next video when we cook the salmon. Right? The main benefit of poaching as a cooking technique is to cook tender and delicate foods so that the cooking technique preserves that tenderness and moisture. Right? And the reason for that is because proteins, when they're cooked in a high temperature or in different temperatures, the higher the temperature, the more that the protein muscles tighten. And as they tighten, they squeeze out moisture. I kind of liken it to like taking a piece of moist cloth, and if you can imagine that this is the protein muscle, and as the heat increases, it kind of loses a little bit of moisture, right? And then as the temperature goes up, the muscles tighten more and more, and then more moisture gets squeezed out, right? Another benefit of poaching is that it helps prevent some overcooking. Right? That's because the cooking temperature is so low, it takes longer for the food to reach the point where it becomes overcooked. Right? It doesn't mean that you can actually leave and watch a movie and then come back to what you were cooking, but you do have much more time to check on your food and make sure that it isn't overcooked. And another benefit of poaching is that the temperature of the food that you're cooking will not go above the temperature of the poaching liquid that surrounds it. The next benefit of poaching is that when you cook something in the poaching liquid actually lends its flavor, whatever the poaching liquid is, it lends its flavor to the food that you're cooking. And vice versa, the food that's being cooked in the poaching liquid will lend its flavor to the poaching liquid, and then later on that can be turned into a sauce, right? And we're going to demonstrate that in our salmon. So what are the disadvantages to poaching? I can think of two only at the moment. The first disadvantage is that because the cooking temperature is so low, right, you won't get that colorful browning or caramelization that we really enjoy and find so appealing. Foods that are cooked in poaching kind of have that kind of a kind of bland color in a way, right? And so oftentimes we're going to put whatever food it is, we're going to put it in something that's colorful, like vegetables, or we're going to put a sauce on it that gives it a much more appealing look. The second kind of a disadvantage to poaching is that it's really designed to cook naturally tender foods. In other words, if you have a food that's tough, it will not become tender by the poaching technique, right? So you can't cook a piece of chuck steak in it and use a poaching technique and expect it to become tender. It will cook. It will get to the point where it's cooked and edible and safe to eat, but it will not become tender. The reason for that is because the cooking temperature in poaching between 160 degrees and 180 degrees Fahrenheit is not high enough to break down the connective tissues and break down the collagen, which is the fibers in the muscle that cause it to be tough. In order to break down those fibers, we need to go into the next higher temperature, which is simmering. Okay. So those are the basics of poaching, right? And so we're going to go ahead and demonstrate that by making our avocado toast with poached eggs.
Okay, let's start poaching some eggs. The first thing that we have here is our water, which is at poaching temperature. All right, it's between 160 and 180 degrees. I like to keep it closer to 180, as close to 180 as possible, simply because when the eggs go into the water, the temperature is going to drop. Right. We have our timer set for about 4.5 minutes. And the eggs, depending on how liquid you like the egg yolk or how firm you like the egg yolk, it can be anywhere from like 3 minutes all the way to about 5 minutes. So I prefer 4 minutes 30 seconds. We also have our ice water here. As soon as the eggs are poached, we take the eggs out of the poaching water, put it into the ice bath, and that stops the cooking process. We have our white wine vinegar. The vinegar is basically used to coagulate the egg white as quickly as possible. Use white or clear vinegar so that the vinegar doesn't tint the eggs with any kind of color. And we have our 4 eggs over here. I'm going to be cracking them and putting them each into the ramekins. Now, eggs for poaching it is best to have as fresh eggs as possible, simply because the egg white becomes much more liquid, more watery as time goes on. So let's take a look at the egg package that we have here. All right. So if you take a look at that 3-digit telephone number right there, the 349, that lets you know when the egg was packed. That is the 349th day of the year, right? So if day number 1 is January 1st of the year, and day 365 is December 31st, right? That's how that system works. So 349 is December 15th of this year, and today being December 27th, this egg was packed 12 days ago. So that, I would say, is really fresh. All right, so now let's go ahead and crack the eggs into the individual ramekins or bowls. Remember, crack the eggs on a flat surface, not on a rim. That could possibly force the shell to go into the egg and break the yolk. So I like to put it in ramekins just in case one of these the yolks actually break. This allows me to catch it before it goes in the water. And in the off chance that a shell goes in, I can remove it before it goes in the water. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and put the eggs into the water. And what I do is I like to start the egg at the 12 o'clock position and to go clockwise. That way I know which egg went in first. So just take your bowl, put it in the water, let the water come in, and gently pop it in there. Okay, and then we'll start our timer. Oh, I forgot to put the vinegar. Okay. Sorry about that. Normally you would put the vinegar first and then put the eggs, but I guess better late than never. Right. And all we're gonna do now is, after about let's say a minute or so, what we're going to do is just kind of move the eggs around just so it doesn't stick to the bottom. Okay, go ahead and move the eggs around a little bit. Okay, that should be fine. Right. And we'll come back after the time has elapsed. Okay, we're about 20 seconds left in our poaching process. Now I want to point out how what all these little white things are. So again, as the eggs get older, the egg white becomes more liquid, and so that's what all of those things that are floating are. The older the egg, the more of that you're going to have. All right, we are done. Let me shut off the timer. Let's go ahead and get this one out first. So this is the one that went in first. All right, and that just goes into our ice bath. Next one. All right. And again, what the ice bath does is it stops the cooking process because the eggs are still going to be warm on the outside. All of that heat is going to slowly travel into the egg yolk and continue to cook the egg. So by putting it in the ice bath, all the heat is taken away from the egg and it stops the cooking process. This process is called shocking. Putting something that's to stop the cooking process, put it in an ice bath. To stop it, that's called shocking. Okay. Okay. Okay, so now what do we do with the eggs? The eggs, if you have a party going on or later on in the evening, the eggs can be poached ahead of time and then put in water like this. The water will cool it down and stop the cooking process. And what you do is you can actually clean up the eggs. Now this one that's very creamy on the inside. So if you want the eggs to be more cooked, just set your timer for a little bit longer than 4.5 minutes. Right. Just trim off any excess things that doesn't look pretty. Right. And then put it in a separate container. This one just has cold water in it. And if you see some extra pieces of egg white here that's kind of ugly looking, you can take a butter knife and just trim them off. All right, put it in our water again. Okay. Oh my goodness, that water is cold. Okay. Oh, this one came out nice. Go ahead and just take it as it is. Okay, so you have your eggs. You've pre-made them, let's say in the morning, but service is not going to be until later on in the evening. This can just go inside the refrigerator, and then what you would do in the evening is you would actually get a clear, a clean pot of water, get it back to the poaching temperature, no vinegar this time. You don't need a vinegar anymore. And what you're going to do then is you're just going to take your slotted spoon. What you're going to do then is take your slotted spoon, gently take it out of the water. Okay. dunk it in the clean water without the vinegar, right, for about a minute. And what that's going to do is warm the egg without actually cooking it. And then you can put the egg on toast. You can put it on salad or whatever it is that you'd like to put it on for your guests. All right. Okay. So the next part of this is we're going to go ahead and make the avocado toast. Okay, now we're going to make our avocado toast with the poached egg. We're going to start off by showing you, this is the poached egg we made earlier. I have a pan full of water at poaching temperature, and this one does not have any vinegar in it. It's just water. And what we're going to do is take the eggs when we're ready for them, and scoop them up, put them in the water for about a minute or so, and then we're gonna that'll take the chill out of the eggs and warm it up, and then we'll put that on top of the toast. I have some bread toasting here. I like my bread toasted on one side, but feel free to go ahead and put it on top of, I'll go ahead and put the bread in a toaster to toast both sides. That's perfectly fine too, however you like it. Okay, safety first. You have a cutting board here. Don't forget to put your damp cloth on the bottom of the cutting board, and that's to prevent the cutting board from moving around. Okay, first thing we're going to do is take our avocado and cut it up. My avocado toast recipe is actually very simple. I make a guacamole, and that's going to go at the base of the bread, and then I save some ingredients from the guacamole. I don't assemble it, and that's going to be the topping. So it's basically a disassembled guacamole is what I have on top of the toast. All right. Oh, sorry. Let me put that again. All right. So I cut the avocado in half in order for you to get the pit out. You can do what I did, or you just got to put a piece of cloth to protect your hand. Take your knife and like that, and twist it off, and then discard the pit. Next, we're going to scoop out the avocado from the skin. And I'm going to use this part of it, where the pit was, for a presentation. So I'm going to cut this off, and this is what I'm going to mash to make the guacamole. Safety reasons, got to put a cloth on your hand. Take your knife, just gently tap it, twist, and then you can get the pit off. Okay, again, I'm going to use the area with a pit for presentation as a topping, so the rest of it goes into my little bowl for mashing. Okay. Next, onions. Okay. We went over how to do very fine diced onions earlier in our knife video, but I'm going to show you how to get that even more fine so that we don't have chunks of onion in our guacamole. All right, so I have thin layers of the onion. Just going to push it down, and we're going to very, very finely slice this. Remember your 3-finger rule. You have your finger with the knuckle out like this. Your fingers are curved in so that they don't get cut by the knife, and then you just have it like this, and your knuckle will touch the blade of the knife, not the blade of the knife, but the side of the knife like this, and then that keeps your fingers away from the blade. That's probably enough for what we're making. All right. Again, 3-finger rule. Now you don't have to go as fine on a dice of your onions as this, like this. This is just how I like it. If you prefer, thicker cuts, thicker dice, go ahead and do a thicker dice. Stragglers there. All right. Okay, that's a very fine dice. We're going to go ahead and just add maybe about half of that for right now. A little more than half. I'll save this in case I would like some more. Tomato. Take your paring knife, put your thumb at the tip of the paring knife like this, go in at an angle and twist. And that removes the core. Again. Okay. If you want to squeeze out the seeds, feel free to go ahead and do that now. Just take it and squeeze it. But I don't mind the seeds too much, so we're going to go ahead and just dice this finely. Then we'll add some of it now. Let's reserve the rest for later in case we find out we need more. Okay. Cilantro. Just take some. Okay. Take the cilantro, roll it up. And then I would like this to be fine as well, so we're going to go rock chop. Jalapeno. I like heat, but not too much heat, so we're just going to use a little bit of it. That looked like a lot. Anyway, we'll move on. And next is our lime. I like this device. All right. Okay, and now we're just going to go ahead and mash it all together, see how it tastes. We'll adjust it after that. There, very nice guacamole. Add a little bit of salt. Pepper. Okay. Give it a try. that is good. I think I'm going to add another avocado though. I wasn't getting enough of avocado flavor. So let's add on another half an avocado. There we go. That tastes like avocado. A little more onion. Definitely more cilantro. I like cilantro, as I said, but if you don't care much for the cilantro, put less. Perfect. Okay. So I just adjust the amount of ingredients based on how much, how I taste it. Ooh. I think I put a little bit too much jalapeno. It's giving me a little bit of a bite in the background. So, one thing to keep in mind, in cooking, we have a saying, you can always add, but you cannot take out. I put too much jalapeno for me, and I can't do anything about it. Okay, we'll put this aside. Clean up a little bit. Oops. Okay. Let's assemble the toast. So I like my toast done on one side. Feel free to go ahead and toast both sides. Okay, put that aside for now. We'll take some of the tomato, cut in half. Take that out. Sprinkle a little bit of the onions on the side. That way they can be seen. If you would like it, again, be bigger, feel free to go bigger. I think I've had enough jalapenos on that, so if I wanted to add more jalapenos, another way to do it would be just to very thinly slice some jalapenos and then add it on the sides. Because remember, we're going to be putting an egg on top. But anywhere that you'd like to. Okay, fine. I'll go ahead and leave one with extra jalapenos. I'll take it out later. Okay, I've got an egg here that's ready. Come on, come on out. Delicate little thing. Okay, we've got another egg in the water, warming up. I'll plate this. It's a very festive looking plate. Come on, slide out. There we go. Now again, the one downside to poaching is that we don't have color. So we can add a little bit of a topping to it, just to give it, I have some smoked paprika here, you don't have to be smoked. There we go, just add a little bit of color and flavor also to the egg. All right. And that's a beautiful avocado toast with a poached egg. And poached egg, when you slice into it, oh, nice and creamy. You just spread that out. That's beautiful. That is delicious. Okay, hope you enjoyed this video, and happy poaching!